Welcome to the Dominance Academy, where we specialize in revitalizing manhood and leadership. Our approach focuses on developing men to lead with strength and passion, enriching their lives and their families. We provide practical solutions and expert guidance in the realms of sexual education and the mysteries behind polarity and structured power dynamics. Join us at thedominanceacademy.com and restore harmony to your home while rediscovering the joy of a fulfilling masculine presence. It's time to step into your role as a leader and as a man. And now, the host of the show, Mr. Justin.
Good evening, good evening. Hope you're all having a good weekend. I decided to have a little bit of a late night stream. Got some inspiration and got my lights down low because having a little bit of an eye strain today from work. So got the lights low and chilling. So yeah, I was watching, the inspiration wasn't this, but I was watching this brief clips of the FNF thing where they had the panel and they were talking, and there was some dude in white jeans and shit and talking all kinds of stuff, and I was just like, I don't even know who half these people are. Like, I just don't understand. I just don't understand how people get caught up in fandom. I've never been that way. I was like, since I was a kid, I was not obsessed with sports heroes, actors, famous people, you name it. I was just not into it. I just couldn't do it. And I had friends who were like completely obsessed with baseball players. And I tried. I was like, yes, I'm going to try. I'm going to try to get into baseball because my best buddy was in baseball. We're little kids. And he's still obsessed to this day. I don't get it. I don't get being a fan of another person. Like, I'm my own fan, right? But speaking of obsession, I wanted to talk about the 6 things to keep her obsessed. And this is a common thing, if you go around YouTube and you're one of those guys, and maybe you're in a situation where you're getting a sense that your girlfriend or your wife or whatever chick you're dating is losing interest. So you go typing away, how to keep her interested, and eventually you're going to come across something in there about keeping her obsessed. And this is, it's a trap, because, and that's why I said not that you should care, because in your quest for her obsession, you're essentially making her the thing that which you're following. And you know how we do at the Academy, we don't follow our woman. We don't follow women, period. You have to follow your own guiding principles. You have to follow your own constitution. You can't follow the woman. So in your quest to create her obsession, you're now making her the focus, and this is essentially going to put you back in the same place that you started. You're just now trying harder with different tactics and all that kind of bullshit. But I figured I would give some practical advice, because yes, there are things that you can do that the result would be her having a higher level of interest, but it can't come from a place where that's what you're after. So these are just things that happen as a just a happy accident, as artists will say. It's a happy accident for just you being the right kind of person. But the thing is that when you're there, when you're that guy, when you're there, you don't really care if she's obsessed. Sure, it's nice. I mean, it's nicer to have a woman who cherishes and adores you versus a woman who does not cherish and adore you, right? So we can say that, but it's not like we're trying to make it happen. Okay? So whenever you're trying to make something happen with a woman, and there is an exception to this, and I'll explain that in a minute. Like I said before, you're essentially putting her first, you're making her the focus, and you're going to fall flat. At some point, you're going to lose it, and it's going to slip, and then you're going to be ruined. And it's going to suck. I'm telling you, it's going to suck. Now, what's the exception? Okay? The exception when you are trying to go for a certain effect is when you are being strategic in your teaching, your guiding, and you're looking for a behavior shift. Okay, so you're being very intentional about trying to modify her behavior. Okay, this is the only time when you can be focused and looking for a particular outcome, because it's a goal at this point. Okay, having her interest shouldn't be the goal, but while you're in your relationship and you're looking at, say, a specific behavior, a habit, or something along those lines, that's when you can start looking at things specifically and start thinking to myself, okay, what do I want to change? What has she said that she wants to change? And you can start creating an action plan and start using, operant conditioning techniques in order to make a change in that behavior. And now she's, meeting that goal, and you're watching that goal and observing it and having to make adjustments here and there and all that kind of bullshit. So that's the only exception, where you're looking at the goal and going after that goal, right? Anything else, like such as her interest or her obsession, okay? I just put it in there as as a bait for people to check it out, because most guys are suckers, and so they're like, yeah, I really want to know how to make a woman obsessed with me. And and honestly, like, you don't really want a woman obsessed with you. It will get on your nerves. Essentially, you just want her to respect you, right? And that's really the only thing that's important. So we're going to go through 6 things here about bringing about high interest. All right. So we've heard the first one here is, we've heard about this dichotomy between the nice guy and the asshole. Okay. And the thing is that, of course, we don't want to be nice guys. We don't want to have the nice guy virus operating within our systems. I hope you guys don't have this. And if you do, you're making efforts to expel this from your system. Okay. Because it will color everything that you do. It will color your thoughts, it'll color your words, it'll color your behaviors, and you won't actually be operating from a true, authentic position as a man. Okay, it'll completely fuck everything up. All right. So if you got some of this virus in you, figure out how to get it out. If you can't, give me a holler. We'll have a chat, and we can get you on something that can actually work this out of your system. Okay. So that said, all right, we will replace being nice with being a gentleman. All right. And so there's this dichotomy between being a gentleman and being a villain. All right. Being kind and being mean. And, there's this old phrase that goes, if you want to keep her keen, you got to be mean. And it's like kind of true. All right. It's false because we don't want to be mean, but it just works because it rhymes. Okay. But essentially is you want to have a sharp edge. Okay. So you want to have a sharp side to you, but also a not so sharp side to you. And this is the thing at a base level, that like a very, very base level. We're talking, behavioral psychology, deep, like lizard brain sort of shit that goes on inside women's heads, is that, if you look at heroes, or you look at anti-heroes specifically, like we could say, look at Deadpool. All right. Deadpool, if you look at him in the movies, he is this ass kicking motherfucker. All right. Like, he's fearless. He's extremely skilled in combat. He can kill without even thinking twice about it. Yet he's in love. Okay. Like his girlfriend in the movies, like, he is absolutely in love with her. And so this is essentially the archetype of what women really, really desire, is the beast who can love, the monster that can love, the villain that can love her. Okay. And so it's like, not just the lover, because that's just too soft, and not just the villain, because that's just way too cold. It's a mixture of both of them, right? It's having them operate, and shifting around constantly. Okay. So it's not like, oh, one day I'm going to be a gentleman and the next day I'm going to be, the villain. Okay. That's not how it goes. So it's like, it could be in certain instances where you could be out, you take her to a nice place, you still pull out her chair and or take her coat and that sort of thing, and you're being very proper and that sort of thing. But then in that conversation, you can still be cold. You can still be firm with her, or show that edge with her in your conversation, and then flipping back and forth between these things. So it's in the micro as well as the macro, as far as like your behaviors go. And so this is one of the main things, because it's so deep and so fundamental to a woman's attraction for you. So it's important to learn what to do, like how to be a gentleman, right? How to have a a clean, measured way to behave in public scenarios, in private scenarios with her, and know how to be an upstanding gentleman, right? Who's got class and is suave and is articulate. This is important, but you also must be fearless in being able to express the monster that's inside you, to be able to express the wolf or the villain, whatever title you want to put on it, but it's that dark side. And both of these can show themselves in a myriad of ways. And it's just important to know that you cannot stick to one or the other, and they both must exist within you simultaneously. Not at all times, but just in varying times. And it triggers their innate, just that guy. Like, that's the guy that she's after. Her fantasy best dude that she has been thinking about for years. Okay. And so that's the first marker. All right. Is being a gentleman, and also being the villain, right? And then just also the next one we already kind of touched on is being the gentleman versus being nice. Okay, so that we'll just make that number 2, is the gentleman versus being nice, because the gentleman isn't nice. Okay, because to be gentlemanly, you basically operate on a set of standards. Okay, and a nice guy doesn't really operate on standards, because he's made her the standard. Okay, you can never make your woman your standard, ever. Like, from the moment you meet her all the way through the length of your relationship, for however long it lasts, you cannot make her your standard. You cannot make her emotional states your standard, meaning that, like, the standard is the thing that you meet. So if she's feeling a certain way, you don't change so that she is in a better mood. Okay. Or whatever it is. Okay. But that's a pretty common thing. And this is what nice guys do. This is what the nice guy virus will cause guys to behave in a way to make this happen. A gentleman isn't nice. He's kind, and kindness comes from observation. It comes from believing that certain actions are warranted because of other actions. Okay, so it's like kindness is almost conditional in the gentlemanly sense, where you're you're operating from a set of principles, and so this is what kind of keeps your back straight. This is what keeps you standing tall and just moving cleanly with class. Okay, let's see here. What's up, Uncle Guns? I see you, man. Scott Clark, J98, thank you, and appreciate everybody else who's watching here on the live stream. But yeah, there's I think that guys don't even think too much about this. Like they think being a gentleman is catering to a woman's needs and desires. And this is not what a gentleman does. I mean, sometimes there might be a crossover, but he's not doing it for the sake of that. That's not what it is. He's already this way. This is what a gentleman, or when you're behaving gentlemanly, okay? You're doing it regardless of your environment. You're doing it regardless of your company. You're just upstanding. Okay, you have class because you have class, not because you want to impress somebody, or you're trying to fit in, or you're trying to make an impression on someone. That's not what a gentleman does, right? Like, gentlemanly behavior is just based around what you think is right. Okay, and the result might be kindness. All right, but it's never catering, never ever catering. Okay, because we all know, we all know. I mean, like the nice guy thing has just been kicked into the fucking ground. But despite that, there's shit tons of you everywhere, everywhere. It blows my mind. And you'd think that today, with the amount of information that we have at our fingertips, with all the social media, with YouTube, with a lot of people like myself trying to get men educated about themselves, we still have tons and tons of nice guys, tons of you. It's mind blowing, and you just keep getting churned out. Just keep getting churned out. But hey, it's all right. Like, I had the nice guy virus a long time ago. I get it. It's just part of social conditioning. It's just weird. Like, I don't know, man. It's just weird. Like, I just imagine sometimes a society that, like, if you believe in like the parallel universe sort of thing, like there is a parallel universe that's just like this one, except the nice guy thing never happened, and men operated the way they should, and they don't do any of that bullshit. And I would love to see what that society actually looks like. But anyways, so let's see, the third thing that that you can do to keep a woman obsessed with you, right? Is distance. Okay, distance or absence, right? You hear that old phrase, like absence makes the heart grow fonder. This can be done in a number of ways, but it's absolutely true. It's like if you're involved with a woman and you're just too available, you're too easily accessible, and this is just on a number of different levels. So this could be in your physical presence, like that's an obvious one. So like if you're living together and you see each other every single day, all right, and you can get into routines, and that's just what life is, right? Part of life is about routine. You're going to get used to each other, and when you get used to something, you become complacent. So it's like the guy who buys that fancy sports car, he's loving it for, I don't know, maybe like the first year, maybe less, but then it becomes used to it. He's just like, yeah, this is just my car. Like Like he doesn't have that thrill every single time he sits in that sports car. Give it 5 years, 6 years, 10 years. He's just like, he's like, it's my car, whatever. And that's what happens with everything. We become conditioned to it. We become used to it. And so making yourself distance or unavailable can come in the form of your emotions. It can come in the form of your communication, both in the frequency and style. It can come in the form of the patterns and habits that you do throughout the day. And I'm saying like things where if you're like, say, living together, all right, this is like living boyfriend, girlfriend, or husband and wife. You switch up. You switch up the patterns that they normally see you in, okay? You could just book yourself like a new, like a trip somewhere just by yourself, right? You decide to take up a new hobby or a new sport, and now you're twice a week, you're going off to this thing, all right? This is going to create that separation. This is going to create absence, okay? If you're not living together, this is something you can do just in the same way where you're not getting into the routine of seeing each other on a regular basis or in a consistent pattern. And you break up that consistent pattern by having things going on in your life, right? Join a certain club, join a certain sport, take up a certain hobby, start going to various things on meetup.com or whatever, and you start being busy. But again, it's like if you're doing this to get her more interested, it's like you're already fucked. You're shooting yourself in the feet, and while you're trying to walk, and it's just not going to work. But so of course, when I say you should be involving yourself in certain things and making more activity in your life, it should be something that you actually want to do, right? It should be something that you're interested in and that enriches your life. And it just so happens this is going to cause a little bit of anxiety in her. She's going to wonder what you're up to. And, maybe if she's perhaps a little bit needy, she's going to be wondering if you're seeing some other woman, if you're preparing yourself for an exit or something along those lines. And, it kind of like goes back to, like early red pill stuff that I remember reading online a long time ago. This is back in like the forum days. And there was this term called, there's just a term called dread, causing dread. And the idea is that that you want to cause her fear or anxiety that you're possibly going to leave or replace her. And and these guys would come up with all sorts of different means and methods for making a woman uncomfortable with the lack of your presence, and it's manipulative because they're doing it for that sake. It's for the sake of causing this sort of thing, and it's it's devious. Okay, now granted, if you are a devious person, you just got that little that little clever little demon inside you who likes to stir shit up in that way. Yeah, so be it. You know what I mean? Like that's your natural, authentic self who just does this. Okay, there's just people who are just naturally into cause and effect and manipulation and things of that nature. So the thing is, like, you just got to make sure that that's who you really are, and you're not becoming a manipulator just to get the woman's like deeper interest in shit along those lines, because that's just really fucked up. Because now you're needy, and on top of it, you're manipulative. So that's not a good combo. But it is true though. I'll tell you, it is true that when you create distance, and and we're already assuming that you guys have something going on, she's interested, you're interested, you guys are like kind of doing some shit, that if there is some sort of distance, you're doing something, especially if it's something exciting or mysterious, it's going to increase her curiosity, and it's going to increase her anxiety. All right. And I again, like, you can't do these things for the sake of this, because honestly, as a man, you really shouldn't give a shit. You really shouldn't give a shit if she's obsessed with you. It really doesn't matter. It's just a nice thing that happens, like it's like, yeah, all right, cool. Yeah, she's going to get obsessed. She's going to get very much interested in your life. And, when you're living your life properly, and you're leading, and you're having influence, it's going to happen. Right. And I get it. It's like, if you've never had a woman who really loves you, who really respects you and really looks up to you, like, if you've never had that in your life, I get it. Like, you're you hear all these people, or a few people here, they're talking about steak, and they're eating steak and this and that, and they're like, keep talking about steak, and you're like, I've never had steak before in my life, I really want to taste it. It's going to become a focus of yours. And you're going to be like, shit, I really want to get steak. How do I figure out? Teach me how to get the steak. But I'm just telling you, the truth of the matter is that when you actually arrive, you don't care. You just no longer care. It doesn't matter if she's obsessed or not. Like, it's great that my girl is, feels about me the way she does, but it doesn't have any effect on me. There's no influence on me about how she feels about me, because I'm already full, right? I've mentioned about the cup, right? If your cup is full with self-respect, self-love, self-appreciation, and, self-management and all that stuff, there's no room for anybody else. It's not needed. There's no room in there. So whatever they add is just extra, right? And it kind of spills over, and it's okay, right? And then if it ends up, leaving, right, whatever they're bringing to that, if it ever goes, then it's not a problem, because there's no depletion of that cup, right? They can't take away your self-love. They can't take away your self-respect. They can't take away your self-management. If your cup is full with self, if they go away, they've just taken away the extra. So there's no loss. There's no feeling of loss. Okay? You only feel loss when you were dependent on what they were giving you in order to top you off, right? That's the only thing. That's the only thing at all. So yeah, it's very helpful if you're able to create some kind of distance. Okay. Now, there is like a structure inside the relationship. All right. And I've talked about this before, is the idea of having what I've called professional distance. Okay. And professional distance ties into one of the other points here, but I've talked about being 12 inches back and 12 inches up. Okay. And when you're in a relationship of whatever kind, whatever duration or depth, and you're doing it well, right? You're leading it well, you're creating it well. You have to have a bit of distance. You have to have a bit of that professional distance, and being 12 inches back and 12 inches up, because this is what allows you to kind of gives you some elbow room, okay, to do what you need to do and see what you need to see. Okay. And it also is preventative. It prevents you from being really sunk in and being too immersed in whatever it is you're doing with this woman. Okay. It prevents you from being too immersed in the relationship. And this is so important because you cannot lead, you cannot guide, you cannot plan, you cannot have a vision if you're immersed, right? Because when you're immersed, it's like the experience is right here on your face. Okay, you need to be able to step back so your eyes can focus, so you can see. All right, that's how it works. That's how it has to work. Okay, and of course, this is tied in with attachment management. Right. So if you're having issues, if you have attachment issues, if you've got emotional issues, if you've got psychological issues, this isn't going to be very easy for you. You have to be, oh shit, what do they call that? There's like all these attachment styles, right? So you have to have a very healthy attachment style where you don't have to be in it in order to feel safe, secure, happy, whatever. Okay, you're okay. Like it's fine having a bit of distance, and so don't think that you can just do this, right? There are prerequisites. There's prerequisites for all of this stuff. Okay, so in order to move properly in a relationship as a leader, there's the prerequisites of having your mental shit straight, having your mental shit together. Okay, because you're not going to be able to function it well. You won't be able to lead it well. And the thing is, though, is if you've got, say, the nice guy virus, or you've got issues with your attachment, you're going to hear my suggestion about being slightly detached so that you can see things and not be immersed. And likely it's going to cause a bit of anxiety yourself, because there's the fear that you might lose her. There's the fear that you might lose grip on the situation. It might slip through your fingers. And this is a trap that guys get conditioned to be in, that almost says, like, if you're not immersed, then that means you cannot be committed. If you're not immersed, you don't care enough. So guys will really immerse themselves into their woman, into the relationship, as a signal, both, I think, to themselves and to the woman, that you're really here. You're really in it. You're in it to win it. And it doesn't work that way. That's not how things go, right? That's a recipe for disaster. And we see it all the time. We see it all the time. And then the guy gets out of the divorce or the breakup, and he's like, man, I invested all of this, right? I made this huge investment. And for what? And now he's distraught. Okay. Now, I'm not saying don't invest in your relationships. Okay. You have to, right? Or else they won't function. You have to put energy in various forms in order to get energy out. Okay. They don't just like self-perpetuate, right? You have to put in energy. But, if your cup is lacking and it's not full, then it's going to feel like something was taken from you. It's going to feel like a loss, because that's what it turned into a supply for you in order to feel whole. And so if this goes away, now you're like, fuck, I lost out on my investment, and that it's going to destroy you. And we've seen those guys, right? Like, I mean, I remember this happened to me a long time ago, when I was a young man, and it's like you get fucking destroyed. And it's funny because you look back and like, over what? A girl? Really? Like, and you guys still do it. I mean, I've seen grown men like just be destroyed over losing their woman. And it's like, how? Why? Do you just sit in the feelings, or do you really dig in and ask yourself, why am I this messed up because someone had to exit from my life? It's weird. It's weird, man. So just know that you're not going to be able to do any of these things unless your head is straight. Okay. So yeah, distance. An obvious one, and there's a lot of people who will, support this and go against it, and I don't give a shit. Is being physically attractive. Okay. I remember it was like early on in my coaching, and there was this guy that hired me, and he was a Latino guy. Excuse me. Latino guy. And he had the stereotypical, like, hot, spicy dragon lady wife. Okay, I mean, like, this lady was super bitchy, like with a hair trigger. Okay, like just walking stereotype. And he started coaching. Like the dynamic was just way too flipped. Like she was completely dominant, and he was way too submissive, and it just wasn't working. He was not happy with where he was. So he gets into his training, and I have him doing certain things, and fitness was part of it, like, because this was one of his goals. But I have a certain part of a morning routine that's not necessarily designed for fitness, but if someone's looking at it, they're going to think, oh, they're trying to get fit, but it's really physical activities for the mind. But anyways, so he's like, doing these push-ups and stuff, and it starts freaking his wife out. And she starts, it adds on to her anxiety, and she started getting angry and defensive, and she started turning into a detective, because she thought that he was preparing himself to leave the relationship or to get a side chick or whatever. Okay. And so it is important, I think, to remain physically attractive. And, of course, it's like a dual lens, because yes, you're doing this for yourself so that you look in the mirror and you like what you see. Okay. There's, but then there's also this other awareness of attraction. Like, attraction doesn't work on its own. It requires an attractor and attractee. Okay. So when we're talking about attractive, when we're saying, work on your attractiveness, right? Or whatever you want to call it. It involves two people at the very least. Okay. So I do think that it's important to maintain your physical fitness. And there's the, the nice result of her draw towards that. Okay. So it hits on a number of different levels. Like, yes, visually, it's like, you're taking care of yourself. She's going to look at her man and be like, okay, I like what I see. But at the same time, there's a psychological attraction, a more emotional attraction, where it's you paying attention to yourself, taking care of yourself, doing something physical, right? Getting your hands dirty and just getting in there and doing something raw and physical to maintain the vitality of your body. Okay. This is going to be attractive to her on an emotional level. And then there's the benefits of, say, in the bedroom, when you're feeling more physically strong and you've got no problem, manhandling her, tossing her around the bed or what have you. I mean, unless your girl is like 200 pounds, and then you've got a problem. So, but whatever. Either way, you're better off being physically fit than not. Okay. So, yes. So being physically fit. And yeah, it can cause that dread that I mentioned before. It can cause dread. It can cause her to think that you're, either trying to, or it's going to become aware to her that if you're not going out and talking to other women, that by you being physically attractive, it's going to draw the eyes of other women. And there's some people out there, I've heard this. I don't know if it's true or not, but the guys have been like, what women will do is they'll want to keep you at home, sucking your dick and feeding you, so that your balls are drained. You're that impulse to just that sexual impulse to be out and like looking at women and talking to women, all that stuff, like that's deadens, right? Because your balls are getting drained, and then she's feeding you on top of it, so that she's just like constantly feeding you, and to like detract from your physical fitness. So she's like taking out the drive and then making you fat. So, but if that's happening, that's poor leadership on your part, right? Because you should be leading to, having her cook healthy foods. The refrigerator should have junk. The cupboard shouldn't have junk. So, overfeeding you is going to be difficult. But, yeah. 1 second. What's up, Maris K? Wicked Scorpion. Salutes you. And whoever you are, alien head person in the chat. That's cool. But yeah, like people will say like, oh, you don't have to, like, fuck physical fitness. Like, you're doing it for women. Nah, man. Like I like seeing the different shapes on my body. I like to see muscular definition. I like seeing the veins, popping out of my arms, and popping out on my legs. Like I like that, I like putting on clothes and having it feel right, and it's like I've been overweight, and I know what it feels like to have shirts that feel like shit when you put them on. Right. And I know what it feels like to have them feel great when you put them on, and that's just there's like multiple levels, right? And and you're aware that women will find you attractive, right? If you take care of yourself. It's just a bit of a trap if you're doing it for the sake of that. Okay. Like I said early on, it's like you're doing any of this shit for women, you're fucked. You're completely fucked. All right. But you guys know that, right? You're smart. So another one to keep her obsessed, okay, is not getting comfortable. And so this is what I was kind of talking about before, like with the distance and, absence and patterns, and, either you're living with her, not living with her, she's your wife, girlfriend, whatever, and you're in patterns. You can get very complacent and you get used to these patterns. And so one of the things that really prevents stagnance or stagnation and developing complacency is having a growth-based program. Okay, so like a good program is actually founded in growth. That's because then, like, what is the point of it, right? Just to keep things in line? No, you can keep things in line and grow them. Okay, we want to see progress in our lives as men. We don't want to just keep things the same. Okay, and a lot of guys can easily fall into that. Easily fall into just being like, okay, I'm just going to do the same shit day after day, and wear the same clothes day after day, and just do whatever. And this is like, guys can just fall into that, like, without even thinking about it. So this is where having a program comes into play. This is where having rules comes into play, and a set of rules that are evolving, right? Because we don't stay the same. We're growing human beings. We shift, our perceptions change, our beliefs change, what's important to us changes. Sometimes our values will change, and the rules will change within the relationship as it goes on. So having rules and a growth mindset within the relationship, this is going to prevent you from getting too comfortable. All right? It's like with anything else. Like if you're running a business, you don't want to just reach a certain point and be like, all right, cool. This is just, we're good at this level. We're not going to grow. Okay. Even though you can, we're not going to. or you're on your fitness journey and you reach your goal weight, your weight goals, your BMI goals, your strength goals, your speed goals, whatever it is. And you're like, I met it. I'm good. We'll just kind of hang here forever. No, you're not going to do that. You need to keep going and keep trying to improve and keep trying to grow. It's the same in the relationship. So you take an assessment and you're like, all right, this is great. We're here now. What do I want to implement in order to keep things going forward and upward? How is that going to happen? Let me reverse engineer this. Think about it for a little while. What do I want to see? What do I think she needs to work on? And how do I implement this? How can I put this into a trajectory of education that she will actually do and enjoy doing? Okay. And so this is something like having a good growth focused program is what's going to prevent the relationship from ever getting too comfortable. Okay. And so you combine that with some absence or some distance, and it will make the heart grow fonder. It will inspire obsession. Okay. I mean, maybe not obsession, but the interest goes up. The focus to you goes up. Okay. And the thing is though, it's before I go on to the next one, it's like guys want this, right? They emotionally want this, and I get it from where they're coming from, right? Because over here, we don't care about it. We don't think about, is she obsessed with me, or can I get her obsessed with me? Or it's like it's not even in the realm of our thoughts on this side. But I understand where guys are coming from, okay? And it's like they want it from an emotional state. They want it to happen. And the thing is, though, is that in order to have this level of, that level of interest from her, there's a lot that you have to consider. There's a lot you have to watch. There's a lot you have to pay attention to. There's a lot you have to maintain. There's a lot you have to manage, right? And it's not just maintain, but grow as well. So it's like, I think that a lot of guys, they want the result because it supplies an emotional need for them over here, but not realizing that in order for that to happen, you have to have a certain kind of mindset, and it's actually opposite to their current emotional state. So it's almost like they can't have the emotional state, but that's what's driving them towards that desire. But in order to get it, they have to have a new mental framework and a new patterns and new behaviors. And when they start operating that way, they get the thing that they originally wanted to need, but now they no longer need it. And that's how this shit works. That's how this shit works. Okay? What you once wanted and desired, when you get it and you're doing the things to get it, you no longer care or need it. But now you've got it. And yes, you could appreciate it. It's great. And if you want it to stay there, then you're going to have to maintain some certain things. You're going to have to manage certain things. And if you don't care, then you just kind of let it fly out, and just off into the abyss, and you let it go. And that's fine too. If you don't care about maintaining these things and growing these things, you don't have to. You really don't have to. You can have whatever relationship you want. Okay. I'm just of the mind of growth, right? I have a growth mindset. I like the whole notion of being in a relationship and growing these things and watching them change. Like I personally, I just think that's awesome. I love watching it. All right. I love observing change over time in a positive direction, but that doesn't mean that you have to, right? This is just me. And then the last one here, for creating obsession, even though you shouldn't want to, is great sex. is domination in the bedroom. And there's just way too many details that go into this. It's not just domination. It's all the four pillars of domination, immersion, emotion, and variety. And so it's just being a great lover. Being a great lover will cause this high interest, this high attention on you, because it's like, you combine all these things. You just imagine you combining all these things. You're creating that being that she was, dreaming about. That the anti-hero that can love, or the villain that can love, the monster that can love. Okay, the gentlemanly monster. That's why, like, Beauty and the Beast, right? The Beast, he was this monster, right, who could destroy very easily, but he was this gentleman at the same time. He was this prince, and he had manners about him, and class and style and knowledge and intelligence and all this stuff. But on the outside, he was this brute who could just like uproot a whole freaking tree with his bare hands or his paws or whatever. By doing all these things, you're becoming that. Okay, you're the gentleman. You're a little bit mean. You can easily say no to her. Easily say no. And you should be able to easily say no to a woman about any request that she wants that's, not something that's a genuine need or an emergency situation. But just desires, whims, preferences, whatever, you should have no problem saying no. Not one bit. Okay. Having some distance, right? Or having some absence, being physically attractive, not getting very comfortable, and being able to have rules and regulations and a growth mindset to keep things from getting too comfortable. And then also having yourself as a very good lover, and being purely dominant in the bedroom. That's the most important pillar, right? The most important pillar is having dominance in the bedroom. Of the four pillars of dominance, immersion, variety, and emotion. The most important one is dominance, because that kind of can fuel or be like the back push for any of the other ones. Okay. So, because like when you're doing it right, and of course, like I can't really get into a lot of the details because it's not going to be YouTube friendly. And, frankly, all those details are, for people who join the course at dominanceacademy.com. What it does essentially is it alleviates her rational mind, okay, and replaces it with her emotional mind, okay, while at the same time, sexual arousal, okay, and it transports her away from herself, or away from her common self, like her self that she's with every day, through, for however many hours a day that she's awake. Okay. You're removing her from that self into another self that she doesn't often get a chance to visit, except maybe for like brief moments when she has an orgasm, or while she's fantasizing up into the orgasm, and then she's brought into this moment, and it's a taste of where she can be. So it kind of like she like blips into this other dimension, and then kind of like fades back into her regular self again. With you leading and you dominating in the bedroom in a particular way, all right, you can bring her there and keep her there for a while. For quite a while, if that's what you want to do. And this does so many things for a woman on so many levels. It affects her deeply on a sexual level. It affects her deeply on an emotional level, on a psychological level, perhaps on a spiritual level. And I can't even like get into speaking about the benefits of this. mostly the emotional benefits of this, because it turns, like that regular self I mentioned of, it turns all of that off. And a large part of that regular self, that common self, is full of overthinking. It's full of overfeeling. It's full of just considering so many different variables and overthinking and all this stuff. And you bring it down, you localize it into a particular feeling that's like condensed. Okay, it's and what they call that with like detergents and soap, it's like concentrated. Okay, so it becomes concentrated, and her experience of herself becomes concentrated, right? It's not so widespread and scattered with her daily thoughts, her daily actions, her daily considerations, her daily emotional up, down, left, right, in and out. It becomes way more simplified but condensed, which makes it more intense. And this is what's valuable, because it alleviates stress. She no longer has to be who she's been. She's this other version of herself that is completely free from its own shackles. And I can only speak on it from an outside perspective. I don't even have the ability to speak on it from their perspective, because I'm sure it's profound, right? At least from my observations, it looks profound, but it probably pales in comparison with what you're actually experiencing. Okay, so these are just like 6 really basic essentials to creating obsession. Okay, now, of course, this isn't going to work. I'm not talking from a position of you just met some girl and you've gone on 3 dates, right? Or you've had sex once and you're going to see her again in 2 weeks. Like, this isn't really going to do you any good. Okay, this is for guys who are involved with someone. There's some time under your belt in whatever respect. Okay, it could be wives, it could be girlfriends, what have you. Okay, so there's got to be some substance there. There's got to be meat on the bone. Okay, and doing these things, they will produce a higher level of interest and what one might consider to be obsession. All right, and there's other ones. There's plenty more, but this is like the basics, And I think that if I were to get into some of the other ones, I might get canceled, right? Because it would be too viewed as manipulation, and in the way I see it, that it's not manipulation because it's connected to a program that's intended for growth, right? So your program, I'm hoping, has good moral grounding, and it's not just to satisfy certain whims and wishes and whatever it is. Okay. So what do we have here? Empowerment Dynamo, thanks for joining. He says, how do I gain sexual attraction? Well, it's you're kind of screwed with the question to begin with. Like, I get what you're saying, right? Because like everyone wants to be attractive, but it's a trap, because how do I explain this? It's like, how do I gain sexual attraction? You're gonna be too distracted in trying to achieve the thing that once you like have achieved it through those means, it's not going to be genuine, right? Because you're looking for methods and means to manufacture attraction, and that's just not the way true attraction works. Like, you actually can't seek it. It can't be important to you. But I understand, like, if you've never had a woman who is like, oh my God, I must suck your dick. If you've never experienced that before, or she's like, I really need to spend time with you. I don't have to be so crass. then of course, if you've never experienced that, you're gonna be like, man, I want that. Like, I've heard of that before. I've seen it in movies. I've seen other guys talk about it. I've watched my buddy and his girl or whatever. I want to experience that. So I get the impulse. I really get it. But when your decisions are fueled by attaining that impulse or attaining the goal attached to the impulse, then it's not going to be right. It's not going to be on the mark. It's going to it's going to fall flat. It's going to be for the wrong reasons, even if you're quote unquote successful with it. And you could go forever with that quote unquote successful and thinking that it's actual success. All right. So the first part of gaining sexual attraction is not making concerted efforts to gain sexual attraction. Because again, you look at the villain. Do you think he's doing anything to get the girl? Even though he does. You look at the Beast, right? From Beauty and the Beast. He's not doing it to get the girl, right? He's not like, oh, I'm going to be like beastly to, kind of spark that feeling inside a woman that likes that, okay? He already is that. He just is, okay? So part of being sexually attractive is not rejecting yourself. And great. Yes. King Solar Power, yes. This is basically what I'm saying. You want to attract yourself first. So, but I think it's also important to look at it in a parallel way where you're not rejecting yourself. This is important. Okay. To not be rejecting, to fully accept who you are without consideration of other people. And it's like, I understand, like, if you're young, you're in your 20s or something along those lines, just your head is really, really concerned about what other people think of you. And you should really work hard in eliminating that from your mind. That's really what you need to do. You have to eliminate, because that's going to fuck everything up. It's going to fuck up everything about your own development as it relates to all of this stuff. So you have to really learn to eliminate the considerations of others and really embrace yourself. Embrace who you are, what you stand on. Appreciate who you are. And that's the beginnings of actually being sexually attractive. Okay. Now, if you combine that with, being a gentleman, but also being a villain, being a little bit mean, or being perceived as mean. Okay. Being firm, having that edge to you, not catering, being okay with saying no, not being afraid of rejection whatsoever. Keeping a little bit of distance or absence, being sexually dominant, being physically attractive, which also, by the way, isn't just your physical health. I mean, it's your clothing as well, right? Like, just don't dress like trash, right? If you're a grown man, don't go wearing jeans with like ripped holes in them. Like, you're a grown man. Like, leave that to the teenagers, all right? You don't need to wear jeans with rips in the knees. Like, forget it. So yes, this includes your attire as well as your physical fitness, and not getting comfortable. So it's like you combine all this stuff, and you're going to be more attractive. Okay. What's up, Kevinism7? Let's see here. Wicked Scorpion. I just want to get stronger and fitter for myself, but women finding me physically and sexually attractive is just a byproduct. It's gonna happen, and it's not like you can't like really not pay attention to that. right? It's going to be in your awareness. Now, I'm not saying you should pay attention to it, like paying attention, like not like anything like that, but it's going to be in your awareness. It's going to be in the awareness of your mind, right? It's not something you're going to be able to eliminate. That, like, because we're not sociopaths, right? Or at least I hope we're not. I like going to the gym and hitting new PRs. Yeah. If you like tracking this stuff, you know, it's a great thing. Yep, absolutely. You know, but yeah, you can't. I don't know, man. It's like the game is just so weird, because it's like to get what you want, you have to not want to get what you want. it is that way. It is that way. You know, and you know, the game has that bit of Zen quality to it. It really does. You know, and it's ongoing. It's ongoing, but it's entirely a balancing act, because you have to care enough to pay attention, right? You have to care enough to pay attention. So you can't be completely detached, right? So it's not a complete, I no longer care about this. It's just, you no longer care about it in the same way that you used to. Because you've worked on yourself enough to, you know, not really need any of this stuff. You know, like I'm hoping for, you know, not having followers. You know, I'm looking forward to the men that I work with not needing me anymore. Like, that's a win. The win isn't getting more clients. The win is letting them go. You know, because if you don't need me anymore, that means you're 100% thinking for yourself. You understand the game of self, and you no longer need a guide. You no longer need someone to hold your hand or you know, punch you in the gut or pat you on the back, explain shit to you, you know. But you keep coming out of the woodwork, you know. You know, got this kid, and man, it's like I forget. I'm in my bubble. And I forget. And this kid's got his whole mind just completely warped. You know, like, I don't know about you guys, but like, I don't think about other men. I don't think about the ongoings of other men. The only time I ever do is when I'm doing a review of something. You know, I'm giving my commentary on video that some other dude made or some shit like that. And yeah, that's the only time. That's the only time I really don't think about other men. But this kid, he's like, well, what they're doing over there, and they get this, and they're doing that, and you know, and I'm just like, man, why are you spending so much mental time thinking about somebody else? Why are you doing that? And they're like, well, they're getting all the women. So who cares? It's like, for all you know, and it's most likely that they haven't really dealt with themselves. So all these female conquests, so to speak, are just enactments of an unhealed psyche. And they're just using the women to fulfill some sort of hole in their minds, a hole in their heart where they should have filled in with themselves. You know, that's what like a lot of guys do this stuff. You know, in order to like really make any of this stuff work, you have to get to a point where you really don't need or care for women. Like in that way, like in the way that's, you know, I guess like maybe a nice guy would. Like, you really can't care much about them, right? I'm not saying you shouldn't care for your woman, but it's like, it just, you don't care much about them. And I'm really listening and thinking, what is she thinking? What is she up to? What does she want? What do they want? It's like, you're fucking lost. You're fucking lost. But it's just like, I don't know. I'm just sitting back and, just with my own development and looking at the field and looking out over the grassy fields and saying to myself, man, like, where I'm at and, the men that I associate with, you'd think it's like a whole other dimension. It's a whole other reality, but still looking at the same grass. I'm playing this game with my son. We just got it. What is it called? Like Forbidden Worlds or something like that. Something for the PS5. But it's this like fantasy, this like dark fantasy adventure game. And it's the one where you kind of like, you run around, and it's very much like the Jedi games where you kind of go on these like little quests and battle certain things, and the camera's behind the character, like up in the air, and it's fun. But he's got this like this lantern. He's got this like blue glowing lantern, and kind of hold it up, and you hold down the square button, and it transforms you into this other dimension, and like the colors are off. It's like kind of this grayer, bluer version, and then there's all these like specters and monsters and demons and things like that you kind of get in your way that you can battle, right? And it's kind of like that. It's like you're in the same place, but it's totally different. It's completely different, but we're operating in the same place. So I'm here with my guys, functioning in the same reality, but I'm seeing it completely differently. I'm experiencing it completely differently, And this is like what I want for you guys. I want you guys to see and scratch your head and go, oh my God, like, it's fucking different, but it's not. Right? Like, you look around, like, the door is still the door, the floor is still the floor. I'm still me. Women are still women, but they're not. It's there's not a lot of words for it, but if you do want to to kind of get into the muck and bring about obsession, you can try out some of those things. I think one of the strongest ones, if we were to pick out, like, if there's anything you could possibly do, to be the most impactful out of the things we talked about this evening, I would say that it's being a little bit mean, or being a little bit forthright, not being flexible. Right. So I don't want to say mean, because mean, I remember like explaining to my kids, when they were very little, and I would do something, and they go, "Oh, Daddy, that's mean," and and I would explain to them that mean isn't just you not liking it or you getting your feelings hurt or whatever. Mean has the intention of causing harm. Okay. So I don't want you to take this word of being mean the wrong way. Okay. Because meanness is intentionally causing harm. That's not what we're trying to do here. It's just being not very flexible. It's being able to say no and denying her whatever sort of preference or pleasure or desire that she wants. And it can be anything simple. You're out on a date and you're having a great date, and she's like, "Oh, that was awesome. Like, can we get some ice cream, or you want to get some ice cream or whatever?" And just say no. No. I've had a great time and I want to see you again, but I'm going to go home. She's going to be like, what the fuck? Like, you just like punched her in the chest. And they say, can I call you an Uber? Or can I walk you to the train? Or, you know, can I take you home if you drove? Like that's going to have way more impact than going to get that ice cream. I guarantee it. She's going to be thinking about you all the way home. She's going to be thinking about you when she gets in the shower. And she's going to be thinking about you when she gets ready for bed. And when she's in bed, she's going to be thinking about you. And you're going to be the first thing that she thinks about when she wakes up. And wondering what did I do wrong? She's going to be wondering, what did I do wrong? Or that guy's such an asshole. We were having such a good time. Or she's going to be confused. Like, I don't get it. We were having such a great time and wanted to spend more time with him. We were flirting, having fun. We even kissed once. And then when we could continue to have more, he just said no. You know? And that would be perceived as mean or not nice or whatever. And she's going to start thinking, well, geez, am I attractive? Did I do something wrong? Did maybe my breath was bad, or maybe you didn't like my outfit, or was it the tone of my voice or whatever? And it's going to drive her mad. It really is. It's going to drive her mad. Because of the not knowing, like cliffhanger type shit, you know? And women are suckers. They're complete suckers for cliffhangers, suckers for mystery. Suckers for cliffhangers. And, you know, it's tied with their deep love and interest for anticipation, even if it's for things that aren't that great, right? Because it's not that great that you said, no, I don't want ice cream. I'm going home instead. I've had a lovely time, but, you know, we'll go out again. That's not like exactly positive, right? That's not exactly a positive situation. Yet it's going to inspire that anticipation and a little bit of anxiety to want to see you again, because it's confusing and a little frustrating and all that shit. So she's going to want to see you again. She's going to become obsessed with you. Absolutely obsessed. And this is much better than, I don't know, like, what's the stupid shit that guys do? Like, ooh, I'm not going to call her for 3 days. Like, I remember that was a thing. I remember that was a thing, many years ago with like dating coaches, don't call her after 3 days. That sort of stuff. Don't double text. Got into a thing the other night. I was talking to some guys on Clubhouse, just a very relaxed room. And, one guy asked this girl who was in the room, he says, like, what do you think about double texting? And he explained what he meant. And she's like, oh, yeah, that's lame. That's lame. And that moment right there, that indicated to me that she's never experienced somebody who's really good at text messaging or just communication in general, because it really shouldn't matter the medium. So, because if you are good at texting, if you're good at messaging, meaning you can elicit responses, you can inspire certain feelings and conjure images in the imagination, then it doesn't matter if you double or triple text or whatever, right? Because you are in full control of this creative process of communicating through typed words. So it doesn't matter at that point. Right? You can say whatever you want, however many times you want. And because you know that you can transport her. You can transport her mind, which then picks up her feelings and they go for a little ride through your messaging. So it's like, yeah, that only applies if you're one of these dudes who just, you just don't have that skill, you don't have that ability to engage her imagination and her emotions through messaging. So yes, it would be best for you to not double text, right? It'd be best if you just kind of keep things to logistics and not try to flirt or anything like that. I mean, unless you've got the daring, the willingness to experiment, and fuck around and see what happens. This is this I think is healthy. I tell my guys to do this all the time, to just feel their impulse to say a certain thing, and then don't do that and do something different or completely opposite. Because like I've got this guy, he's very well mannered, right? He's very educated, he's very straight laced, and he's not used to giving commands. But I didn't start off. I didn't start off telling him exactly how to give commands. So he came off like very heavy-handed, and he fucked it up. But I wanted him to just get out there and do it, right? Because he was so nice and so well-mannered. He was asking. And I said, stop asking and just tell her. Tell her what you want. Be straightforward and just say it. And his first couple times was very heavy-handed, and he wasn't smooth about it, because he just didn't know what he was doing. So he overswung, and he ruined some communications. Now, thankfully, this guy for some reason is just fantastic at getting matches. Like I didn't have to. I mean, he just developed his dating profiles very well. I didn't have to tweak too much. Just change some photos, and that's about it. But he gets a lot of matches, a lot every week, and so he can afford to just blow up whatever just by experimentation, and that's what he's been doing. And then after he fucked it up, now I've got something to look at and go, look, see what she was saying here and see what you said here, and you see how it ended. And I can explain the framework behind it all. And then he goes, okay, I get it. And the lights turn on. Okay. The lights won't turn on if I were to just say it like this, because he's not going to get that clear delineation between what he was doing and then what I'm helping him to understand. So now when he's learning to give commands, then I'll tell him, say it like this, say these words, and then watch the result. And then he's like, boom, and like lights turn on, and so it's good to allow things or purposely just like blow things up, especially when you're lacking in certain knowledges, So I think you should always experiment. Why not? Because the game is about you, right? It's about your growth, it's about your knowledge, it's about your wisdom. And you can't gain growth, knowledge, and wisdom by playing it safe. You never will. Like maybe you'll grow a little bit, right? By like just inching along. It's like really, really safe. You're not really going to excel. You're not really going to go forward in big strides by being too safe and too calculated. You really gotta just like throw shit at the fan. That's what the hell happens, But do what you will. Do what you will. But yeah, so that's the my 6 tips on creating obsession, even though you shouldn't care. Because men, we don't care. I hope that was informative for you, you know. And if you really want to get into it, you really want to get into knowing how to create this obsession, even though you don't care. Get in touch with me. You can shoot me an email at the justin@thedominanceacademy.com, or you can simply go to the website, dominanceacademy.com, and sign up for any of the programs there. And please, I encourage you, before you sign up, I've had a couple recently where they've signed up without talking to me first. It's good to know what your goals are and things of that nature. So get on the free consultation. You could just find the link in the bio to my Instagram, which is the dominance.academy. And in there, you just click in the bio. There's a link to the Calendly, and you just hop on there, set a date, set a time, and then we'll have our conversation. Those are always free. And then it makes things a nice transition and, to getting the proper training. So, all right, I'm going to bug out of here. I'm tired, and it's been a long fucking productive day, and I got another one tomorrow. So I hope you all are having a good weekend, and it's springtime wherever you are, and you're enjoying the sun and the good weather, fresh air, and having a good time. And all right, so that's that, and I will see you guys on the flip side. Thank you for streaming with me, and thank you for those of you who are catching it on the replay. We'll see you again soon.